Engineering Sports Hall of Fame, it is our pleasure and honor to induct such a fine football team into the Greater Engineering Sports Hall of Fame for the year 2023. Congratulations.
Well, he didn't say if I hurry, he can get out of here on time. I also want to tell Bob, I never realized this was such a Christian organization also, that you're letting umpires in it. Perry and Mark and Brian, and I bet there's people in there I don't know. I bet you even let football officials in. Okay.
By the way, Dave DeMarco told me to tell you hi. Dave DeMarco.
Oh, okay, yeah. David, I still see David hitting a double down the line to hit the foul line. Clicked up the foul or the dust and won a ball game for us against Howell. And tell him that. And Danny Jimenez almost called it foul. Okay. I think one thing I just saw with the track team that was here is what you end up talking about when you win a lot and you look good is you've got good athletes and good coaching. And I think we had that on this football team. We had an excellent coaching staff. I had two of them at Catholic Central, both for long periods of time, and this was as good as you could get any place. And they were really a superb group of four, three, that did a good job, kept me out of trouble. But it's been 38 years since we won that state championship, and I can't believe that. I bet you Bob Feta doesn't even remember. Right, Bob? Anyways, that we had done this 38 years ago. This team was made up of a junior and senior class and then 3 sophomores later in the season that just somehow or another worked together. My son Steve the other day asked me what I thought made it go. And what I thought made it go, and I explained that to him, that they were talented, they were fast, they were aggressive, they were competitive. But we had a lot of teams that did that, that were like that. We were very lucky. We had some very good athletes at Catholic Central over a pretty long period of time. And that worked out. But these kids were just a touch different because they made things go their way all the time. We lost to a eventual state champion one year after getting a 65 or 70-yard punt on a return down the sidelines where the referee said he stepped out of bounds. And that poor kid said to this day, he did not do that. I did not step out of bounds. Well, the referee said he did, so he did. And we lost to an extremely good DePorres team one year for a semifinals state championship run, who had about 6 kids end up playing in the Big Ten and Western Michigan's league, the MAC league. So we played some really good teams and we played them well, but those were teams that screwed it up because they weren't good football players or they weren't a good team. They weren't good. It's just like life. You keep trying to plug away on it, make it go good, and what's it do? You get a curveball and you got to either bite it or just walk away back to the dugout. So those things happen. That did not happen to this football team. It really stayed. And I got thinking about it after Steve brought that up to me. He told me his 2 cents worth of what he thought that team did that was so good. And I got to thinking about it, and I realized if I listed the stars on that football team and made you come out and see them, you wouldn't know it unless you saw them in a football game. And they were stars because other players played like stars to make them look like stars. there was a capability of doing that. And they all did that kind of thing, and it worked out to its very best in winning and finally winning a state championship. And this team pulled together and worked together and did that. I hardly ever remember a bad practice. We didn't have a bad practice. It's like these kids, and I didn't know it. I hope they did. What we tried to do with them got them there. But what Alan Haller just said about that team getting together and saying, we're going to do something this year and nothing's going to stop us. That's the kind of thing that happened. And I'm not sure if that came from our coaching staff or from them, but I'd be smart enough to say that I think it probably came from both areas. Yeah. The players and the coaches were ready to give it a shot and give it a try. The junior class that year was a really good class. They went 9-2 the next year. So it wasn't like they just came up and filled up hole. The 3 sophomores we pulled up, one of the sophomores we pulled up was probably a good football player that ever played at Lansing Catholic, Pat Gillespie. And he didn't come up until the end of the season because there wasn't a spot for him. And before you get carried away, DeMond Winston, who played 5-6 years in the NFL and was a big kid, he didn't play his sophomore year until the end of the season. So that's talking about some talent that was there, and it had to be there, and it had to be part of that. And these kids were part of that, and they did that. And I'm very proud of them for that. I'd like to take this time, since I think we're probably running a little bit short here, but I can still see my stuff, is I want to thank people. These are people that I had a lot of respect for, that helped me out in coaching and helped us out at Catholic Central. And these are coaches that these young men had while they were coaching to get there, plus the positiveness of good parents that worked with them and told them right from wrong, because it was pretty easy to coach and teach at Catholic Central. Because somebody got their fanny kicked if they came home from school with 4 or 5 E's. I wasn't happy, and their parents weren't really unhappy. So it was taking care of those kind of things. But I would like to thank some of the people that were participants on this. Keith Strabo. Keith was our offensive coordinator. He was in the press box, and he's a superb football coach. He's still coaching today. That's why he can't be here tonight, because he coaches in Portland. And guess what? They're doing the same thing at Portland we were doing at Catholic Central for a long period of time. And Keith's there helping John run that program. And that's the kind of coaches I like to have. They covered up for my screw-ups. Randy Pertler. Randy is right where? I say, oh, there he is. Randy Pertler was our defensive coordinator. And he was also a teacher at our school, as was Keith. And Randy was a perfect defensive coordinator. He was an excellent football man. He was an excellent defensive guy. He knew where everybody was supposed to be. If he could get a film, he could break it down. And as a staff, we really did a good job of working on films to do those kind of things. The next guy is Brian Lou Boyer. Lou Boyer was just passed away a couple years ago, and that was just he was a good friend. He lived with me Mary and I for about 11 weeks, and we had a great time. He liked the dog too. He liked all dogs, so that worked out pretty good. And Lou and I became real good friends before he eventually moved out to Arizona. And then other people in that situation that we had was the captains on the football team, Bob Feta, Steve Booth, and Jim McCloy. They were right in here. Where's Larry Moe and Curly? Right here they are. They did a good job. I had a young man tell me today that he thought those captains did the most for keeping this football team. There wasn't a crisis all season long, except a football injury, which we had no do-over. Mary Booth, she's a coach's wife. And I have always said, I don't care if it's men or women holding the homestead,